Hello Internet, welcome to Politically Non-Binary. I'm Jackie Fox, and I've got to admit I have a bit of an unhealthy habit, and that is the True Unpopular Opinion subreddit. It's a place for all the people whose opinions were too unpopular for the Unpopular Opinion subreddit, so they had to make their own. As is true of most fleeing a social platform because of moderation, because it's always because of moderation, this community naturally leans very heavily to the right. And there's a lot of people here. We're going to see a lot of different types of commenters for people who are here for various reasons, but this is predominantly right-wing controlled, even though there's quite a lot of agitators / gawkers, obviously. And there's one post in here that kind of lives rent-free in my head. And I don't want to actually go to the post or show too much detail because I actually looked into the poster, and within a few posts in their history, I realized that they were a 20-year-old self-described gym cell, also virgin, also had only had one significant relationship in their life, and was seeking a current significant other. So it's kind of ironic that this is their post, right? But we'll get more into that post a little bit later. I want to make this video now because one of the hardest parts of explaining this video is probably explaining something that I did in my last video. So right on the coattails, while it's fresh in your mind, I want to give you this. And that is that I said that conservatism and especially a lot of regressive positions are fueled by fear. And pushing harder on that fear, really trying to provoke them into being fearful, is a really counterproductive, especially politically, it's a really counterproductive way to assert yourself politically, because while your base does like that, while Donald Trump's base really loves it when he trolls the libs by saying that he'll take away more of their rights, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, the libs don't like that, and they tend to vote relatively consistently to preserve their rights. Well, it seems like there's a similar misunderstanding happening here, because if you were by all rights, and there's parts of your description of like what women are looking for that are probably fairly accurate, and you feel as though even a grossly overweight, doesn't care about himself or have any plans for self-improvement leftist dude can still beat you in the dating landscape so thoroughly as you have been beaten, maybe you should consider that there's something to that it's not the women that are deluding themselves, not half of the world convincing themselves to believe something they don't believe, but maybe it's just you. And the reason why I feel kind of rough criticizing that person publicly about that is because they're 20. They haven't realized they're deluding themselves yet. They just got out of teenage levels of hormones. Testosterone be crazy, y'all.
You know, sometimes I think, what if I get kidnapped? And then I think, who would logically choose to kidnap me? And then I feel a little more safe and secure.
So I just wanted to be able to explain that there, but also to say that on another level, you know, just projecting yourself as a right-winger is a red flag, because it has the most consistent correlation with like so many other red flags. Sure, there are red flags that are specific probably to guys on the left, but no, most of them are aligned with the quote-unquote conservative, Republican, or right-wing traditionalist, Christian nationalist voter. You know, whatever you call yourself, all of these are essentially sounding like a dog whistle to all the women out there who have had to be conservative in their dating life because of the fact that the police aren't going to investigate their rape case. This has been repeatedly verified across the country that very inconsistently do police actually follow these claims up, nor are they taken seriously in the media, nor are they taken seriously when Supreme Court justices are being confirmed, nor are they taken seriously when we're talking about a person who was convicted on charges related to a public sexual assault running for president. These things don't seem to matter to them. But I think the thing that's made it even more specifically worse for this unfortunate man's generation is that upon, being the dog that caught the car with abortion, now women have this real easy reference point to be able to say, oh, you're a right-winger. So you're one of the people who voted to take away my rights.
Us MAGA Republicans banned abortion, but that's just the start.
That's just the start.
If Trump gets elected?
Cool. I think I'm just gonna ghost you now. Bye.
I'm outside touching grass today because I haven't been outside in a long time and I should really be outside.
And and especially with like dating apps, just make and our increasingly knowledgeized way of living just makes the ability to ghost someone in this sort of romantic scenario so much easier. You don't even have to fight anymore. You can just fly away at the first sign of trouble, which is why so many people who maybe profess their political beliefs really early on or speak in the way that you do, which was mostly polite, seems like a pretty decent guy in some ways, just your views, while maybe you're one of the good ones, I kind of doubt it in a lot of ways. Maybe you're just being polite. That is possible. Because I've seen so many of these red flags, and I've seen this as so much of a red flag before. I wouldn't date you either. Sorry, buddy. You're not getting a significant other here, not until you grow up and mature a bit. But the other thing is that an individualistic, especially like just default neoliberal kind of attitudes about personal improvement and the individual over any form of unit or society, like you may talk about family values, but if your politics are solely concerned with yourself, if you are in that individualistic, don't feed the children at school kind of mindset, like I just don't think that's daddy material. If you want daddy material.
And the response was overwhelmingly positive. I saw Elliot popping up on like meme Instagram pages and all kinds of stuff. Like this blew up huge. So we were able to lock down this interview.
Back in 2005, I legally changed my name. I was living up at Lake Tahoe in a beautiful little place called Incline Village. And I was doing some volunteer child advocacy, and I'm a monk in real life, in addition to being a councilman and mayor pro tem in this little town here in North Pole, Alaska. But back then, I was doing my little advocacy and volunteering here and there, and I grew out my beard for fun in 2004, the year before, and it came out white like you're seeing it now. And I was praying, as monks tend to do, what should I do with this new look, and how can it benefit the greatest number of children? Right after my prayer, maybe 20 seconds after, this white nondescript car came up the road towards me, and its windows were open, so it got my attention, and it was pretty cold out. Just as it went by, this male voice, never saw who it was, never saw the car again, but this male voice shouted out, "Santa, I love you!" like that. So I figured, well, that's a pretty quick answer to prayer.
We got people out here who could potentially be a vice president on the Democratic side who are fighting to get children fed in his home state. This guy is awesome. This is, well, actually, with this guy, it's a little more like granddaddy material, but you know what I mean. Like, this guy has proven his worth as a daddy at this point. Like, he is a successful daddy, and he has a very successful daddy energy, you know what I mean? Like, a political philosophy that's only out for getting a high score, making as much money as you can, and fuck everybody who can't make it along the way, not caring about the realities of wars overseas and all those sorts of things. When it's the women of those places, when they really start to starve, it's the babies, it's the pregnant women, it's the babies that die first, and then it's the women carrying them, and then it's everybody else. Like, malnutrition and starvation really affect women in a way in those populations that, like, dudes just don't get, especially conservative guys. So being able to understand and empathize with other people, especially farther outside of you, feels like a pretty good predictor at being able to empathize with children, other people within the family unit, and even within the extended family unit. So I'm just saying, like, I feel like left-wing philosophically fits more with the family, despite all the balking on the conservative side. Just another place that they have completely lost track of as their political aims have moved forward.
The fascists depend on fear. The fascists depend on us going back. But we're not afraid of weird people. We're a little bit creeped out, but we're not afraid.
So let me show you just a bit of the dumb takes here. And again, I want to say there are a number of people who are here to gawk. There are a number of people who are here to just try to talk some sense into these people, or like post common sense answers and the solutions. There's definitely people who are maybe even trolling. Maybe I'm trolling. I have made a few posts on this thread. One of them got one response. One of them so far has gotten 74. Both of them are at 0 likes. So we'll have to scroll for a ways to get to those. This guy thinks Democrats have gone full 1984. By the way, if you want a trend for what's happening, I just want you to notice this. I want you to notice all the ones that reference weirdness from both sides, actually. There are so many posts about weird. Like,
Hopefully no one's looking because this is kind of weird.
the concept of weird is just taking up so much space in these people's minds right now. So anti-Semitic, the left is anti-Semitic, racist, and bigots. Democrats are Nazis. Wow. Don't go being weird on us. Thank you, Coffee Bean Witch. But yeah, there's so many posts like that. There's some that, like, I don't want to read past the headline because I actually do agree with them, like this one. Most J.K. Rowling haters' lives would be improved by unsubscribing to her on Twitter. And, like, yeah, set healthy limits and boundaries in your life. I'm not sure that's what the body of that text is going to be about, but oh my god, this is a good one. This is a good one. Good old Tick Dickler. Tick Dickler says, political posts here are increasingly walking right into cell phones, and it's punny. They're getting dunked on harder in the comments. I've seen the political part of this sub has kind of served as the venting mechanism of a conservative group therapy session. I've had a bit of a soft spot for that, and it's interesting to see what they're thinking and getting upset about. But that conservative bastion really seems to be eroding here. Maybe it's just recently, but every time I come across a post, it doesn't get the positive affirmation that it used to, even a few months ago. I'd expect it to. They get a lot of negative pushback. Not only that, the way posts here have been recently has just been a straight layup for whoever is responding in the comments. Something about Harris has made people really lose their shit. They're really coming off a lot worse than they used to. Tick Dickler. Tick Dickler's the man. Trump's attacks on Kamala yesterday was weird. By Angry Guy. Unhinged. Political rants arguments are way more fun to read on here than food opinions. Yeah, I hear you. I agree with that one. On this new weird trend. Wow, that's a real screed. I'm not reading that. I'm sorry, my dude. Is it your first day on the internet? Have you really never seen something go viral before? Because I would be aware of that just from watching, like, my local news. Like, I don't even have to log on to know that things can go viral and that people will mimic that behavior. Sure, the Democrats actually tend to suck at memes or going viral for good reasons, but that's really the only weird thing about this from their side. Sure, but while the Republicans have absolute weirdo hits like Donald Trump, Matt Gaetz, who flew an underage girl to another state to pay her for sex so that he wouldn't be labeled a pedophile, George Santos, don't even need to explain this guy, the Dems really have only one candidate in the truly weird ballpark, and that's RFK Jr. It recently came out that he killed a bear cub, probably hit it with his car, but definitely dumped the corpse in Central Park with a bike to try to make it look like a biking accident. I swear to God, he said it himself and posted it. He's also confirmed to have had literal brain worms, possibly from eating a dog, but maybe from eating a bear, but there are photos both of the brain worms and him chowing down on a dog. Just saying. And while I agree that the political ambition is kind of a low-key weird thing, people who are too ambitious often get looked at poorly in politics in certain ways, like we heard this a lot during the who should become the VP debate, right? The post-MAGA Republican Party has really been letting its freak flag fly for some time now, and frankly, I'm glad someone like Tim Walz called them out on it. And by the way, because I'm recording this part of the video in the future of the last part of the video, Tim Walz has been confirmed as the vice presidential pick for Kamala Harris and the Harris campaign. And a part of me wonders if it isn't just how popular and powerful this political strategy has been. I mean, he is the originator of it, as I gave him credit for earlier in this video. I mean, there's a lot of people out here acting like we're just now starting to call people like Donald Trump weird. Personally, I've been calling him a weird old man since about 2014 at least, when he started the birther arguments. And I've never been alone in this. That was a national scandal during the Obama presidency. I think they're just upset that they're losing this battle in the larger meme war. A meme war that, you know, like I said, they usually can expect to win. But if you want true weirdness, check out this nuclear take from I Miss Juice WRLD, who wants to ban all sex, believing that nothing will go wrong. I mean, like, obviously people are gonna not do this. Like, it's gonna be during Prohibition. We're gonna be fucking in race cars speeding down the highway so the police don't catch us trying to bust a nut. But, like, even if there was a 100% success rate, I think there's kind of an obvious problem with banning all sex. I mean, like, even 1984 didn't literally go this far. They just demonized it in the way that you do and kind of made it sound icky. And, like, look, man, I'm on the asexual spectrum, so I don't even have, like, big sex cravings or anything, and come on now, are you fucking kidding me? Like, these anti-sex weirdos are, like, the strangest ones. I think it's just because they can't get laid, so they have to tell themselves that sex is a horrible thing and it's disgusting and all of that, and it just drives them crazy. Like, this is big incel energy, I'm telling you. Wait, okay, so we've reached the point of cope where we've gotten to calling someone weird as a compliment.
Am I kind of weird? I wouldn't say that I'm, like, any more weird than, like, a normal level of weird. Okay, maybe, like, sometimes a little weird.
I find myself perplexed by this new line of attack from the left. They're using weird as a pejorative.
We want the government involved in all aspects of your sex life.
Way more involved.
Way more involved.
But to me, weirdness is something to celebrate. Weirdness means you're not letting yourself be boxed in by societal expectations. It means you're staying true to who you are, even if that makes you different. I take pride in that. Fuck yeah, I'm weird. No, we're just asking you to not be weird. It's so much more simple than that. Like, there's just stop.
Is very, very naughty.
I'm voting in November.
I'm voting in November. We're all voting in November. Are you?
Because what happens in your bedroom is up to me.
Is up to me and my son. Also, mouth stuff is a sin.
I mean, you can see I like this one. Like, I've unironically into that one, yeah. Woke was a much better dig than weird. No, it wasn't. And we all know it wasn't. Sorry, mate. The thing about woke is that when you call us woke, we're like, yes, we do actually care about black people and equality and people other than ourselves. Yes, we do actually care. Thank you for noticing. Actually, we wrote a policy proposal about all the ways that we want to do all of those woke things. They're doing woke things! And it's like, it only works for messaging to your base. You know, it doesn't convince anybody else. You know, there's not someone who's like, for diversity, equity, and inclusion, who gets called woke and they're like, ooh, oh no, I hadn't thought about it like that. I'm woke. Oh no, I've become woke. I've definitely got to Google what that means on Urban Dictionary. Oh. No. Yeah, no, that's me. Okay. But when you call somebody weird, you see an entire subreddit freak out in real time about it. This is actually genuinely just an unpopular opinion, and cool. Good content, good content. Oh, here's one related to their recent thing. The right is recently trying to convince everyone that because a woman won a fight by punching another woman really hard at the Olympics, which is unsurprising given that it's boxing, that now they're trying to reveal her as a man. Yep, that's totally not weird. Definitely not weird. I think boxing is a really weird thing anyways, like being punched for people's entertainment, and like part of setting healthy boundaries is saying, this person gonna fuck my face up, I'm not gonna do this fight anymore. But at the same time, like, yeah, 2 punches in, what, you can get knocked out? You're looking like a quitter here at the Olympics. But I respect her right to quit as well. This is a little funny though. One more addition to the weird column. This guy is asking for mandatory public nudes for all Olympians, either so that he can masturbate to them, likely that, honestly, and the next thing isn't mutually exclusive, especially when there's a bunch of trans chasers out there, but either he wants to masturbate to them. He wants them to be publicly, like their nudes to be publicly exposed so he can beat his meat to various Olympians. And at the same time, this probably helps with their weirdo transvestigations. This, I can't even. But, like, using an example from the US. In Georgia, a couple years ago, there was a drive to get straight conservative families to adopt more as a way of showing that the state didn't need abortions. In 1 month, they adopted over 300 kids, which was like a monumental record. Huge effort, huge turnout. They adopted 300 children. And I don't want to talk down to that because that's a big deal for 300 children that ordinarily wouldn't have got adopted. In that same month, though, there were 3,000 children aborted in the state. There's no way that adoption can keep up with the rate of abortion. So it needs any help that it can get, and there are so many children that need to be adopted that the idea that you would be banning anyone willing to share their love with a child and accept them into their family in a non-abusive way, no matter if they can have kids or not, because, I mean, I guess that there isn't anything technically saying that this is about gay couples, but we all know this is about gay couples. Maybe if your intention was for this to only be about gay couples, then, you know, you've just nailed a bunch of older women or even some younger women that for whatever reason are infertile, or lots of men. I mean, apparently, while female infertility has more largely been the issue throughout human history, apparently various changes maybe to our diet, maybe to the overall environment, have made it so men are increasingly more infertile and their infertility is increasing at a faster rate than women. So just saying, you're really singling a lot of men out of adoption who are otherwise like straight dudes that I'm sure you'd get along with. Their dick just don't, well, specifically their balls just don't quite work right. Labeling the GOP weird isn't a smart strategy. Really, because it works. It seems to be working. Having a slim body does not automatically mean you're attractive. Yeah, no, I agree with that, actually. I don't want to read it, but I agree. Yes, also extend that to investments as well, though. more like wishy-washy Kamala hate. Yep, gotta love that. This guy getting upset that he got moderated, I guess. Okay, hold on. This one actually sounds kind of interesting. For those who didn't know, Hawaii was once a sovereign country, but in 1883 it was overthrown by the Dole Company. The Queen, not wanting to risk war with the US, had decided to surrender peacefully. And for 80 plus years, the Hawaiian culture was banned and speaking the language was banned. People would be beat for speaking the language. So now that you are more informed about the predicament than you were 1 minute ago, you hopefully understand the need for independence, as may fear that Hawaiian and Polynesian cultures will be looked down upon once more. It's already happening with our dance culture. I've already seen many people who have said our dances aren't normal or appropriate. Hell, some have even said they shouldn't be practiced because of the shaking of the hips. Whew. My main fear is that people who don't understand the culture of Hawaii will view it poorly just because they don't understand it. And this is why I argue for independence. Because why be a part of a country that has historically put you down? Why be a part of a country that will continue to disregard and smear your culture? With that being said, I understand that this can't be possible out of the get-go, and that ultimately the U.S. as a benefactor, defense, and economically wise. So I propose we keep the U.S. bases, but make them pay more than $100. That's a hell of a compromise there at the end, actually. Like, whew. Sounds like someone from Hawaii, probably. And, you know what? I agree with you, mathematician Any. This is quality post. Cope. What? Chipotle camera trick? Oh. We do hate the game, you idiot. What? Hold on. Wait, hold on. Is this really... Hold on. How is this not... Your favorite entertainer eating a cupcake is symbolic. Please start watching the cupcakes. It's a ritual. Everyone who got busted this year for talking to minors ate a cupcake, either on the same stream or a video before. These things are symbols that will not be caught by the untrained, unaware eyes. It's not coincidence that Dr. Disrespect and Chris Tyson both had cupcakes right before their downfall. EDP as well as several others. Stop ignoring the signs. Your favorite entertainer could be the next. This has got to be a troll post. What the... People don't believe that, do they? Believe that regret is pointless. Not entirely, but, like, everything in moderation. Regret can be a motivator, but you don't need a lot of it in your life. FTP should be universally and legally defined. I actually really like this idea. It's a shame nobody else did. Wow. That's weird. She is unburdened by this. It has been. What? Is this coconut speak? What was that? Elections are a huge waste of money. You're not wrong. Oh my god. Yes. So, speaking of FTP games, but elections are definitely pay to win. Like, you can get in there for free, but like, my home state requires $1 million to register in it alone as president, not counting all the other things that you have to do, all the other ways that you have to spend money. It's just $1 million to enter into one of 50 of the states. It's ridiculous. Cutting that, though, would actually probably reduce a lot. Yeah, the internet does kind of make the world seem worse than the way it is. Cake is an awful dessert. It's all sugar. If you think about it, the flour just breaks down your body to glucose. It's just all sugar. It's good. This is a really... oh my god. This is a really unique variation on the race blindness.
Call me crazy, but I just don't see race. I guess I'm just the least racist person here.
Okay.
Pancakes are not better than waffles. There's more crisp on a waffle. They're also easier to make. There are certain types of pancakes that are really good, but you could probably do that to a waffle too. News station YouTube channels should disable ads on videos of presidential speeches. Yes? I mean, like, it should be a public service. It shouldn't be something that anybody is necessarily profiting from. The flying spaghetti monster is the one true god, and pirates are his chosen people. Take a look at the 8. I'd really rather you didn't. Didn't the FSM hand it down to God, great pirate Mosey? You will never find a more just and logical set of commandments handed down to humanity by a deity. Truly, we must all return to Pastafarian values and take to the seas in a new age of piracy. Is it any wonder that this, as piracy has declined, global temperatures have risen? It's time that we live the lives His great noodly goodness wants for us. Or don't. It's your choice, really. Ramen. Oh my god. That is such an old meme. I performed a wedding for 2 women as a Pastafarian minister as a protest of gay marriage being illegal in my state. We had spaghetti afterwards. True story. Finally, we get to one of my posts as we finally hit the zeros. Okay, here's one where someone complains that OnlyFans basically paywalled titty pics on Reddit. I swear to God, that is his argument. It's wild. I mean, he's not wrong, but like, I'm sorry you lost your free titty pics, my man. Let's face it, the line of attack Trump started yesterday towards Kamala was pretty cringe and gross. It's also a very weird look for right-wing media to double down on this line of attack. I've seen so many posts and videos from prominent right-wing figures diving headfirst into this strange territory. I don't think it's a good look. It turns the normies off. This guy sounds like a this sounds like a concerned Republican here. Like, please, guys, stop being weird. Most of the far left news environment here comes from the foreigners. Hold up. This guy actually understands fiscal conservatism. Right? What? Wow. What? Dude, So yeah, the political strategy of the Republican Party has gone from actually being a strategy to a strategy of annoying the opposing faction into voting against them. I cannot understand the logic of this, even if it does play to their base, because it just makes far more people want to vote against them, and probably with more passion than your little guffaw gave them. Be racist against a black woman? Sure, you might get tepid support from like 20,000 racists that'll get a real kick out of that, but there's going to be like 100,000 black people and non-black allies that are going to come out of the woodworks and will vote against you. Because of those comments alone, they will make it a personal mission for you to fail in politics. Okay, so if you're wondering why more regressive governments on the state level don't drug test people who are collecting government benefits, it's because the easy answer is that it costs far more to drug test applicants to receive government programs than you'd ever come close to saving by denying access. The only people this kind of idea appeals to are on the right, and they've had years of a talking point about lowering budgets exactly like this one to say, hey, our state should spend about twice the money on a social welfare program to help about 10% less people, because that just doesn't make fucking sense to anyone on a political or logical or common sense level. It just, again, once you actually try to put think about what would be required of this policy for more than the 10 seconds that it took you to write this 3-paragraph, well, a couple of those are sentences. This is 4-sentence screed. Then you would realize that this just doesn't work. However, I gotta say, the guy who's talking about drug testing Congress, there's far fewer of them. They make plenty of money, so that would actually be incredibly cost effective. I mean, if you could deny one congressperson a salary because they were on some hard drugs that week, that saves a lot of money and buys a lot of drug tests. Your drug testing program is funded well into the future. And can I add that this should also be a thing that we do with, like, the president, maybe? I don't know. Just saying. Like, it's an important job. Probably not someone who should be under the influence. He's already way too damn old as it is. Seeing what he's like now, it's panic-inducing to think about him being president at 87 years of age. The reality of him winning in the November election would mean that he would be president until he's 83 years old now. During a following term, he would not only be a 2-time loser, but he would be like an 82, 83-year-old man who's running for office that he will have to hold until he's 87 years old. That's just, that's weird. It's weird that you think that's a good idea. So this might be one of the most unhinged opinions I've seen on this thread, but as a Southerner, I'm not even mad. I'd like to believe that the world's just mad at us because they want to fuck us. I mean, is that a self-serving fantasy? Probably, but, you know, it's okay. So on this one, I actually agree that big brand shoplifting should be decriminalized. At least, I think that you should only be able to steal like a certain amount. Like, you know, if you have to steal lunch from a Walmart in order to eat, you should be able to get a decent lunch, say like $20, sub, drink, maybe a side, bag of chips, another drink for later. Yeah, I think that's fair. But people, Wired Lemons here seems to be thinking that this is crazy because then all massive stores would disappear. And yeah, it would definitely discourage them. Like, a law like this would do a lot to limit mergers and like the lateral monopolies of companies over areas, because companies wouldn't want to get big enough to be legally stolen from. You'd have a lot more mom and pop businesses, a lot less Walmarts, and a lot more department stores and that kind of thing owned by local people in the community, but also that means that your employer is someone within the community whom you know, and therefore, you know, like, it's not some disconnected, like, wealthy owner in another state, right? So we're getting a lot more middle-class wage earners and a lot less bloated corporate behemoths. I mean, it's certainly an unconventional and probably unpopular opinion, but the more I think about it, the more I am unironically into it. And then to say that, like, oh, well, this is a stupid opinion because the rich can steal too. No, the rich already steal, like, through wage theft and the stock market. There's tons of ways that the rich steal rapidly. Like, they're not getting their money from labor, right? So, I mean, they're essentially getting their money through taxation on their already existing money, or the use of their money, right? Through investments, through all sorts of things. And as any good ANCAP knows, you know, as any good libertarian knows, taxation is theft. So, you know, they get their money so much faster than just what they could score from walking in and getting a free $20 set of headphones from Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not economically feasible for them to do that. Ronald McDonald is scarier than Pennywise. I wouldn't even question that McDonald's has killed more people than all the fictional monsters ever have in the fictional realm. Best line. Believing in zombies is just as valid as believing that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Jesus was a zombie. I mean, you're not wrong. Like, one does require the other. Indian women are underrated. No, dude, you're right. Indian women are underrated. I love how that's what people are thinking about right now on this subreddit. Oh, look, it's my other post. I found it in the wild. Okay, so let's look at my two posts. This is the first one. So what I'm trying to do here is just get people thinking. But here's the post. President Harris needs to keep Lena Khan at the FTC. She got non-competes banned, has blocked several corporate mergers, has made subscriptions more convenient to cancel, and hasn't been scared to take major companies to court for things that they've been getting away with for decades, all in under 4 years. She's one of the best decisions that any president has made in staffing, and I really hope that Harris doesn't try to replace her with another corporatist like so very many of her predecessors. Well, this has a negative or a neutral amount of upvotes. I did get one response. I'm a conservative and I love what Lena Khan is doing, even though the lack of mergers might actually affect my personal finances. She has a consistent theory that big is bad. You may or may not agree with this, but she's completely consistent and actually calls out regulatory capture and is responsible for encouraging open source AI and innovation by startups. It's no wonder she's hated by corporate lobbyists for both Democrats and Republicans. It would be amazing if President Trump, who recently spoke at the Bitcoin conference, keeps her. She's going to be under some big pressure from donors on this. Yeah, she definitely will be. Alright, here's the other one though. This one was much more trolling, and let's see what we see. Trump backing out of the next debate was a good move, even though it makes him look lazy/cowardly. The Kamala Harris campaign has already seen a lot of excitement from people who are practically coming out of nowhere, who were either unenthusiastic about Biden or weren't planning to vote for him. But there's still a large amount of people who are probably waiting to see, or at least hear, the results of at least one debate before they fully support her as a new candidate. It also delays the public from seeing the energy deficit between the two of them in the way that was present within the Trump-Biden debate to Trump's favor. The only real downside is that it makes him look really cowardly and allows her to essentially run a victory lap at each one of her campaign rallies because he chickened out with a fake excuse. But those are generally already the people who are going to vote for her and who are excited to do so. Not the people who might become excited to vote for her after he loses a debate, or is at least perceived to have lost a debate, because optics is probably a bigger part to the general public of a debate than actual political strategy. Like, looking at the first televised debate in American history, it wasn't so much about the substance of the politics, so much as it was the perceived sweatiness of just one guy who was not used to stage lighting or stage makeup. Ultimately, I think Kamala Harris gaining support is a bigger issue for the Trump campaign than Trump losing his own support, because the people who are following him in 2024 are relatively loyal for the most part, where there are a lot of people who weren't excited for Trump or Biden who still might be interested in voting for Kamala. Let's see what the comments say. I agree. There's little for Trump to gain moving forward in the debates, if we're being honest. He's already polling well, especially in contrast to him for 2020 and 2016, respectively, when he was leagues behind Clinton and Biden in the polls. With Kamala, he's pretty even, so that means he's polling quite well. I mean, if you really want to play that game, I guess there is some indication that maybe the polls are off with him. This is like a thing that constantly people say about him. But polling companies make a lot of money on being accurate. And if they weren't accurate, they wouldn't make money. There's a huge monetary incentive for them to be right. So there were a number of things that went overlooked in 2016. There were a number of things that went overlooked still in 2020, but while Biden did have a huge lead in the polls, he did also win with record turnout. So maybe that's not crazy. I would hope that we're at least a little bit closer now, but last I saw, let me just look this up right this second. 7 national polls. This is the newest of these articles by 1 to 4 points. 49 to 45 in the largest margin. Oh, margin of error 3 points. But again, like, I think there's a lot of people, like, we haven't had, you know, a lot of Republicans try to, like, use this as, we've seen it throughout this video, right? That they try to say, like, oh, she didn't primary this year, though. Like, she's an invalid candidate. But the thing is, we already picked her for the vice president of a man who was in his 70s. Like, if anyone was gonna drop dead during their presidency, it was, like, likelihood was maybe, in recent memory, Donald Trump number 2, but number 1, Joe Biden. Like, who you pick for his vice president is pretty important. And we picked one of the front runners in the polls early on in the race. So, yeah, she has kind of primaried before, but the thing is, she hasn't primaried in, like, the last 4 years, is the thing. At this point, like, she's just really without that debate. You know, like, I really do think that her getting a debate in would be really good. Even the people who think that he's polling well, though, don't think that he should debate her. Like, you know, he lost one of those elections. What makes you think he won't debate her? He said he would after she's nominated, because he literally backed out of a debate. Let's just, right now, why should I have a debate? I mean, people are asking him if he'll do it. She's calling him out, telling him to say it to her face. It's like, no, I'm fine in the polls. I don't need to debate her. Honestly, I think she does, though, need the publicity more than he does. Like, everybody knows who he is. She's kind of a relatively sleepy vice president who hasn't, you know, really, like, put herself out in front of the public. I mean, the whole administration has been like that, with maybe the exception of Lena Khan. God bless her heart.
But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of 2 United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
Look. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tim Walz. I'm the governor of the great state of Minnesota.
I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. There's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted?
Are we approaching this issue in a way that we also understand we cannot support and help our young people if we also don't also look at the context in which those young people live and are being raised, which means necessarily, because part of the extension of the work you will do is, yes, focused on our young leaders and our young people. But understanding we also then have to be clear about the needs of their parents and their grandparents and their teachers and their communities.
I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time.
Because none of us just live in a silo. Everything is in context.
That we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies.
Well, it's true. These guys are just weird. And it's, you know, they're running for He-Man Women Haters Club or something. That's what they go at. That's not what people are interested in.
Now, I would call her up here to come and speak, but then I think I'd have to sleep on the couch tonight, so.
I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
I'll leave her alone.
Hillbilly elegy. I read it because I come from a town of 400. I had 24 kids in my graduating class, 12 were cousins. And I know a little bit about small towns.
They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jails.
And his dismissive, derogatory approach to how he viewed it, it's not a cultural bias that people had. It's decades of policies of people like him. As we start to talk about the issues, and as we start to see this idea of J.D. Vance, and I just want to say this, the perfect Frankenstein monster created by the Heritage Foundation and venture capitalists and others that gutted many of our small towns.
They're coming from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums like Silence of the Lamb. The press always says, why does he ramble about Silence of the Lamb, the late, great Hannibal Lecter? He'd like to have you over for dinner. Did you ever? Don't do it. If he suggests, I'd like to have you for dinner, don't go.
Donald Trump may be experiencing some buyer's remorse when it comes to Project 2025, which he has claimed to not know anything about, according to a recent piece in Rolling Stone entitled "Trump Flipped Out That Lunatic Project 2025 Could Tank His Campaign."
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words.
then.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Oh, there's something wrong with people when they talk about freedom to be in your bedroom, freedom to be in your exam room, freedom to tell your kids what they can read. That stuff is weird. They come across weird. They seem obsessed with this.
He probably will, but it will definitely ruin what chance he has of still winning the election if he does. Yeah, but no, true. Like, again, just the optics, like, the age thing and the weirdness thing are going to hit home so much harder when she's talking circles around him and he's, like, flustered.
People did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner.
Like, we've already seen how poorly he deals with an even moderately aggressive Black woman. So I don't think he's going to do well in the debate with her at all. You know, as long as she holds him to account for his lies in real time and can do that faster than he can tell them, it's a trick. But they were actually doing, the 3-on-1 was a good job of that.
How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the Black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason.
And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are Black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking Black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a Black job, sir?
If he can handle Hillary, he can handle Kamala. Oh yeah, he's 8 years older, he's older and slower. Yeah, but Dementia Joe was going up against Trump, and Trump still lost. Still a little OP comment in there. He just doesn't want her to be the candidate. Wow. There are 2 ideas here that confuse me deeply. First, 3,359 out of 3,398 delegates have reported that they will pledge for Kamala. The 39 others reported being undecided. We are more certain today that she will be the nominee than we were certain that Biden would be the nominee on June 27th when Trump agreed to debate Biden. And they brought the links. Also, you're somehow implying that her dropping out would be a disadvantage for Trump. To be clear, the entire process of winning the primary and then planning and executing a campaign on normal timetable is an advantage. Being a last-second replacement puts you at a disadvantage. Kamala getting subbed in for Joe Biden puts her at a disadvantage. Yes, she wasn't even the party's first choice. That's rough. Even though I think most of the voting population prefers her and actually has the capacity to be excited about her. Now, there's a reason why these ideas are confusing. They aren't real. You don't actually believe them. You know Kamala will be the nominee, and you know that wrecking her in a debate would be great for Trump's campaign. But you also know it wouldn't happen, that Kamala would do quite well, and that a lot of moderates who could go either way would be swayed if the debates were held. So you make up these ridiculous arguments for why it should be delayed or avoided. You, my man, just earned the biggest upvote. A lot of people are tired of this nonsense politics and want to go back to normal politics. If Trump has good policies to stand on, then it wouldn't matter who he debates against. Plus, he has plenty of time to get ready for it since he has no job at the moment and can use 100% of his time outside of courtrooms getting ready for the debate. There's no real reason except for fear that he rejects this debate. How can someone be more competent as president against foreign adversaries when they're too scared to debate another presidential candidate? Ow! That's a good one. That's a good one there, Clean Strawberry. I love how so many people, because of the way that I framed this as a concerned right-winger, like a lot of people took that bait and like repeated my opinions for me. I mean, like, I am being frank, like, I think that this is the objective reality, and I'm glad that they see it too, but, oh my god. Okay, this is the one that got nuked. Okay, this is the thread that got nuked. Definitely a good move for him, because he would get annihilated if he tried to debate her. This really triggered them. Yeah, he's a coward for it, but we've known that. There not being 15 viral clips of him being destroyed by a functional human being is a win for him. Let me upvote you out of this hole a little bit, my friend. I like how him not agreeing to debate someone who isn't even the nominee yet is somewhat cowardly. But again, as we've seen before, Biden wasn't the nominee when he agreed to vote for him. He didn't even have the same delegate support as she does. And wow, it's so funny, like, because we're seeing a bunch of swings, but we're seeing a bunch of misses in terms of the logic all the way across the board here, to the point where, like, I just kind of posted a troll statement and just anyone and everyone was shredding any opposition in the comments. Like, I started a tiny little bloodbath on this. But please, just because you saw this, don't flood this yet. Just watch. It does. I agree with the one poster who said that it's a really interesting resource to be able to see the cope happening in real time, because, like, it is minute to minute having your finger on the pulse of, like, right-wing cope at many times, and it has been over the last, like, year that I've been watching it. Like, you can tell the news by what they're coping about. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Once again, been Jackie Fox. Thank you for tuning in to Politically Non-Binary, where we're willing to tackle any part of the political spectrum if it asks nicely. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. That's just the basic thing you do. Help me out as a content creator here. And if you have any thoughts on this, or any thoughts on views or opinions stated within the show or represented within the show, or you read something weird in a subdescription that I didn't read and you're like, hey, that was a weird comment, or hey, someone said something really cool in there, let me know in the comments. While you're on the way down, there is a link in the description that will lead you to other parts of Jackie Fox Media universe, including podcasts and other YouTube channels, other content channels where I can post things that have been blocked by YouTube, but also ways to support the channel, as well as books. I write fiction, science fiction, and kind of like near-term cyberpunk modernism. So if you're into any of that type of stuff, then check out the link in the description and check out those links, the link tree, if you will, the Yggdrasil of the Jackie Fox Media universe. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Always touching grass, because no one ever touches my ass. Res. Loner res. Victim res. Was it good res?